Welcome to Coach Renz. I want to thank you guys for being here. And we're going to break down the movie that is coming up, The Matrix 4 Resurrection. We're going to break down the trailer, actually, and what I think the movie is really about, and what, more importantly, mentally and spiritually, what the whole series has been about. And many people, when this movie came out, they got hyped up about the fact of getting out of the matrix, breaking yourself out of the matrix. Stop taking the blue pill, take the red pill, so that you're not caught into the governmental matrix, the religious matrix, the societal, cultural matrix, and breaking free from the matrix. And this became a very popular phenomenon with people who are in the conscious community, people who are irreligious. They want to get out of the matrix. But this movie, based on the trailers, and more importantly, let me give credit to Film Theory and Emergency Awesome, those two YouTube channels, because they did a shot-for-shot analysis of the trailer, this fourth installment. So I watched those so I can catch the shot by shot, because I'm not going to do it myself to that degree. But the fact of the matter is, this installment continues the underlying current that you will never be outside of the matrix. That this entire movie, this entire series has always been inside the matrix of control. And that's what the matrix is, control. Why do I say that? Well, if you stay with me for a little while, you'll understand it even more so. Because we're going to jump into some of the older movies and bring you forward. Some of the lesser known, paid attention to parts, so that we can get that understanding. But before we do that, please hit that subscribe button if you want to, and hit the bell notification if you want to support the channel, as well as, you want to get notifications when we go live, or when I'm posting a video. And I'll probably be going live tonight, where me and Wakilas will continue the series of What's Wrong with the Bible, Genesis 22 and 23. Now that in itself right now should let you know that if you are religious oriented, you may not want to continue watching this video. You might want to just get off of it right now. Just leave. Just leave. This is not that kind. This is not that kind of channel. But watch the video and just don't hit the subscribe button if you are easily offended by the irreligious, as they like to call people like me. So, this movie, fourth installment, The Matrix, and I took some notes. The Matrix Resurrection. This movie is really going to be about a continuation of religious dogma, falsifying the idea that you can get out of the matrix. I'm sure at the very end, they will still show you a way to get out of the matrix. But just as in all the other movies, no one is operating inside the matrix, outside the matrix. Not Morpheus, not Zion, none of those. Now, why would I say that? Well, if you listen to the architect's speech very carefully, he says that they have destroyed Zion multiple times. And it is the job of the one to reintegrate himself into the matrix, and then select, I think, 16 people to go and build Zion, to give them that idea that they have escaped the matrix so that they can fight the war. He said that they had already done this 7 or 8 times. So even the people, that lets you know that the machines are saying that even the people of Zion are actually still hooked into the matrix. They're just on a sub-program, believing that they're fighting against the matrix, being outside of it. So even when, I forgot the guy who drove the ship at first, he wasn't in the second one. Even when he said that he's 1% human born, that's a part of his programming, to believe that he is 1% human born, because they had to build the population of Zion only to destroy it again every time the anomaly of the one came out. And that's what the architect said. Neo was the anomaly that they could not figure out how to get rid of, because it's otherwise a peaceful situation, a mathematical perfection. But the anomaly is what messes up the matrix in itself. They put things in there that makes you think of religious iconography. He said that the first Matrix was a heaven, pretty much, that everything was peaceful, everybody lived great, but people rejected it. And I always question, like, will people actually reject heaven? I know that when I was told as a young boy what heaven would be like, it'd be like church all day, I immediately began to reject Christianity at that point in my life. But then they made a nightmare version of the Matrix. And the reason, and so they dealt with all the grotesqueness of our societies and then brought it back to this point in time in the 1990s when that was the pinnacle, as the machine says, of human existence before the machines took over. Now I want you to keep in mind that heavenly realm, that nightmare realm of the Matrix. Because the architect, as well as the Merovingian, as well as Agent Smith, gave you the idea that there are remnants of previous matrices, I guess is the actual word, that still remain within the current version, the current reiteration of the Matrix, i.e. angels, demons, vampires, werewolves, ghosts. If you remember the dread-headed ghost, and the werewolf that the lady kills, the Merovingian's wife kills. And the Merovingian told you these are remnants, other programs that didn't want to go back into the Matrix. Smith said that he knew he was supposed to go back and go and reintegrate himself into the Matrix code, but he decided that he wanted to stay, that Neo freed him and he wanted to stay. And he did. And that was the whole thing of the third movie. He was the big bad. So the Matrix is showing you that you have all your religious iconography, as well as Neo being a Jesus-like character to bring salvation to the Matrix by saving the Matrix from Agent Smith, who represented the devil. Right? Although I suggested in a video years ago that the Agent Smith is actually the one, because Agent Smith because remember the Oracle said that the one will be able to reform the Matrix however he chooses, which Smith could do, Neo could not. And Neo actually had to lose to Smith in order for the machines to then destroy Smith. So in this fourth installment, we have it where Neo has integrated himself back into the Matrix. If you look at the remember the last movie, the machines, he allowed himself to go back and become one with the machine, go into the Matrix based on the machines. The machines did not give Neo's body back to the people of Zion, which is why in the video game, Morpheus is actually killed. And that's why Morpheus is reincarnated. So they're bringing reincarnation back into this. That's why Morpheus is younger. My brother was pissed because he was like, I'm not watching because Lawrence Fishburne is not in it. Well, once I watched watch it over and over again, Morpheus died. So Morpheus is reincarnated within the Matrix, whereas Trinity is not. She died on the ship. But if you know about death, that there are different levels of death. Like, watch a Star Trek show. In a more primitive country, the person dies, everybody thinks they're dead. But Star Trek showed that there's a time frame that you can still revive a body, revive the consciousness. So I believe she was placed back into a tube to be revived, so that Neo would have that familiarity with her, and they both experienced a lot of deja vu within the trailer. But the thing is, so Morpheus is reincarnated. Why would they reincarnate Morpheus? Because they need Morpheus. They need that outlet for people who don't accept the Matrix to think that they can get out of the Matrix and rebuild Zion and fight against the machine. There's always that group that has to fight outside the machine. Now, how did they trick the people, though? And this is how they're tricking you. So Neo is in the movie, and he has an agent and a therapist. Now, in that movie, having a therapist is constantly prescribing him the blue pill because he's having dreams. He's starting to remember, and he's having all these different dreams. They're a little bit different than what actually happened, but they're similar to exactly what happened. Following the right rabbit, Trinity scaling over the walls while being shot at a bunch of people. He's having these dreams. Him and Trinity up on a rooftop again. They're repeating a lot of the steps of the first Matrix movie, and so they're dosing him with this blue pill so that he won't remember who he is. And it is not until Morpheus, when he touches the mirror, like Neo had touched the mirror, and it's the same thing. That's when Morpheus, the young Morpheus, realized that something's off, and he leaves the Matrix. In his mind, he thinks he does, and then him and Neo have a fight. Once Neo leaves the Matrix, and he thinks he does, but he doesn't. But within the movie, they show that Neo is some kind of actor, or he's a director, producer, he's something, but I think he's an actor in the movie. As a matter of fact, I'm quite sure he's going to be portrayed as an actor in the movie because his agent is saying like, woo, going back to where it started, back to the Matrix, right? And his agent kind of looks like a younger version of the Architect. But in that scene, in all the scenes, like when that scene where the rocket is firing through the little, little rocket fires through to blow up some stuff, in one portion of it, it goes through a screen where it shows the first Matrix when he got all the silver stuff came up and coming to his mouth and he was yelling. It shows that people are watching that as a movie. It shows a big billboard thing as if the Matrix is a movie series inside of the Matrix, which will give the people the idea that if somebody is talking about this being real, then you're crazy. In the same way, we have movies, and if you wait enough time, 5, 10, 20 years later, a lot of the things in those movies turn out to be reality. So does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? There was a movie called The Island where they were cloning people for rich people who looked like them, and they made them think they won the lottery, but all they did was harvest the person's organs because the real person had an accident or needed to have cirrhosis of the liver or something like that, and so they harvested the clone's body in order to keep the rich person alive. Where are we with cloning now? President Clinton said that there would be no cloning on American soil. You got to pay attention to the fact that he said on American soil, which does not mean America doesn't support financially cloning in another country. So you have to pay attention to things like that. You have to see that these movies sometimes show you things that's coming out later. I've seen technology shown in a movie that later on we have, like a rail gun, a handheld rail gun. That was in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. You're going to see handheld rail guns soon. Trust and believe. You're going to see those. So there are many things in this movie that's showing you that. So they tell you that the Matrix happened in a movie so that people would think you're crazy for even suggesting it, for even saying, oh, you got that from that movie. You just believe in that. That was a Hollywood movie. What are you talking about? Nobody does that sort of thing. You're just making up stuff. So that's what you see in the movie. Now, by telling you that, you see that Neo and everybody is still within the Matrix. And they're putting reincarnation in there to make sure you think that you can reincarnate, to show that the body never dies, because the machines will continue to make you. And I say that they can reincarnate because in one Matrix series that's like a cartoon series, the Matrix actually cloned a man and made him more stronger, better reflexes, those sort of things, to go fight some aliens who was throwing meteorites at the Earth. So they made him so that he can go and fight these evil beings. So they clone people with the technology with a certain technology to make them different, to give them personalities, to give them characteristics and give them attributes that not the average person would have. But all of this is done within the Matrix, though. So let me not get too far off my notes here. So we see a lot of that going on, and Trinity is more than likely being reincarnated, or she could be a clone because she's older. Because Neo and Trinity are the only ones who are older. Everybody else is a younger version. Even the Oracle is a younger version of herself, which is why I say the Neo's agent is probably a younger version of the Architect. So that's why I think Trinity was just reinserted into the Matrix, whereas Morpheus was killed. And according to the other stuff, Morpheus was killed. So, and the Wachowskis have said that that's canon to the movie, that he was killed. So that's why he's younger. So if my brother, stop being mad and go watch the movie for entertainment value. So those things are in this movie, and like I said, the angels and demons are in this movie, bringing over old things, showing you that kind of stuff. And the movie is based to keep you from thinking that you can escape the Matrix. And one funny thing, you remember when Cypher was making the deal, he said, I want to be somebody important, like an actor. And that's like foreshadowing that that's what Neo becomes when he reinserts himself into the Matrix. But the main thing is how they're using. So where do we go from here? Since this movie is basically going to probably give you something at the end to make you think that you can escape this Matrix. But what we have to realize that the true Matrix is the Matrix of our government. It's the Matrix of our politics, the Matrix of our culture, the Matrix of our religions. These are all the things that's a Matrix. Even this coronavirus is part of the Matrix that keeps us divided. Now, one way is for the people to recognize that the power is not in the government. It's the power is in the people that give over themselves to the government, give over themselves to religion, give over themselves to cultures and things of that nature. Right now we have the war on the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. We have the black and white war, not as strong because this newer generation is not as caught up in it, so they had to create the virus in order to scare you back into it. So the key to escaping this Matrix and realizing, and what we're escaping is the Matrix of man, the Matrix of the physical body. Will you ever be outside of the consciousness of the universe? No. You will never be outside the consciousness of the universe. The only difference is the consciousness of the universe is not trying to control you. Whether you call it God, whether you call it gods as plural, whether you look at yourself, whether you look at the Plamara, it doesn't matter how you look at it. If you say that there's a demiurge that created this earthly realm, this matter realm, no matter how you look at it, escaping that is the key. Escaping outside of that. So how do we do that? First thing, we have to start thinking for ourselves. We have to think for ourselves. We cannot allow Hollywood to determine how we think. Everybody got caught up into, oh, we got to get out of the Matrix. You're caught up in the Matrix. Instead of realizing that there is no Matrix that you are caught up in the physical plane. That the Matrix in the physical plane is a false Matrix. It doesn't exist. It only exists because you give it power. Just like the government, you give government power. The dollar, we give the dollar power. That's how this Matrix works. So we have to think for ourselves and realize that that you are beyond the physical form. That there are a lot of ancient writings that talk about how the body, it's sad that the soul came to rest in the physical body, and that all the teachers, whether you're looking at Jesus, Yeshua, Allah, Muhammad, Buddha, Siddhartha, Krishna, no matter who you're looking at, Confucius, Lao Tzu, they're always talking about, in some form or fashion, you escaping the physical form. And it's never by praying. It's never by these acts of goodness. It is always, always through you recognizing who you are. Know thyself. You have to recognize who you are. And if you don't recognize who you are, then you will never escape this plane of existence. You will be, as Morpheus in this movie, reincarnated back into the Matrix. You may come back as yourself, or you may come back as another person, another being. This is why many people say they've lived past lives. And they can remember some of these past lives. But we call them crazy. But you will be reinserted, reincarnated back into this Matrix of the physical form. if you don't realize that the physical form has no power over your soul, your consciousness, and that only through elevating your conscious mind. Now, when I say that through your actions will demonstrate what you really think, what you really think. I can see it in your actions. When a person tells me that they want to be a successful entrepreneur, I watch their actions, and that actually tells me if they want to be a successful entrepreneur or they just want to start a business. I watch them in their actions. Do they act in such a way that will bring that about? Are their intentions in their mind set on bringing that about? When a person tells me they want to be a good husband, a good wife, or something of that nature within any relationship, a good brother, good sister, good mother, good father, what are their actions demonstrating? That shows me whether or not they truly want to be that. You see, there was a saying that I was listening, a video I was listening to the other day, and the gentleman said that we all live at the lowest level of what we are willing to accept, meaning that we all can achieve a higher standard, but we all have a different standard that we will settle at, and that's where we live. A person who makes $180,000 a year more than likely can make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $600,000 more than that, but they are settling at the level that is at the lowest level they can settle with. Now that person, if they drop down to like 60,000, they will fight, scratch, and do whatever is necessary to get back to that 180. This is why when you see, and sometimes they'll go higher after that point because they knew that they lost here, so let me go higher so that if I do lose, I only come back to here, I don't go back down here. This is why you see some people, Martha Stewart, she goes to jail, she gets out, now she's making even more money than she was making before she went in. She was settling at this level, now her mindset is to settle at that level. We've seen that many times before. We've seen people get into relationships and they were settling with a relationship that's at this level, but now that they've gotten out of that relationship, they won't settle for this level anymore. They will now look for a standard up here. And that's what we have to do with ourselves, is recognize that we have to up our standards for who you are. If you think that you are this skin, you're lying to yourself. If you put all your pride in melanin, you're stuck in the physical form. Even when you say that space contains melanin, yeah, it does. But that's still you being stuck in this physical form. Anybody of any race can do whatever anybody of any other race can do, if they decide that's what they need to do. You see, in the past, many people invented stuff based out of necessity. They say necessity is the mother of inventions. But because that somebody had a need, a base level need that they need to settle at, they invented something. They needed something. They craved something. They desired something. And then when you add in religion and culture and race and gender and all these different things, everything gets piled onto it, which makes it look like this big blob. It is. It's a big blob of mess that keeps you stuck. That keeps you stuck where you are. You see, I'm a spiritual being, and people like to say this one, I'm a spiritual being and having a human existence. You've probably had thousands of human existences because you've been stuck every time. Once upon a time, you probably thought Confucianism would get you into the heavenly realm. You thought that Buddhism would, when you get the Buddha mind, you get into the heavenly realm. Hinduism, Christianity, Islam. You've probably done, ancestry. You were the ancestor, and you thought that would get you out of the physical form. But here you are again. You're back. Guess who's back? Once again, that's you. You're back. So to break free from this, we have to, and I love using the chakra system because it's the easiest to explain it. One of the easiest to explain it. You have to first not live in fear of anything. You can't live in fear of death. You can't live in fear of taxes. You can't live in fear of poverty. You can't live in fear of anything. Because as long as you're living in fear of something, then you're going to stay at this base level. You can't allow guilt to rule you. I love the show Lucifer. Love it. Love it to life. Because one of the one of the current continuous themes in the show is that hell is based on you feeling guilty about something that you did or something that happened, or you feel like you were the cause of it. And that feeling of guilt causes you to not think you're worthy of ascension into heaven. Because that guilt, you hold on to it. You have to let that guilt go. You have to forgive yourself for whatever happened in your life. Whether it was your fault or not, you have to forgive yourself of it. There were many things that over the years I had to learn to forgive myself for. One of the hardest things was getting a divorce from my kids' mom. Took me out of the household with my kids on a daily basis. And the guilt I felt for not being in my kids' presence on a daily basis, I carried that guilt for a very long time. I had to realize that, okay, I forgave myself, but I had to realize that although I got a divorce, I never left my children. I never left the state. I didn't even leave the city. And I would spend time with my kids, as much time as I possibly could. I would gobble up time to a point where their mom was at one point was saying that, hey, can I have some time? Can I get a little bit of that time? So I had to realize that even though I wasn't in the house with my children, I was still my children's father, and I was there. And I was providing not just money, but providing love, providing attention, providing fun, providing discipline. There guiding my children, whether they took all the advice or not, but still they're guiding my children. But I still carried a lot of guilt for that. And I just actually released that guilt like 3 years ago. Like 3 years ago is when I released that guilt. So you have to let go of the guilt. You have to let go of your shame. Your shame. Things that happened to you that weren't your fault, but people made you feel ashamed of it. Or things that you did do and people made you feel ashamed of what you accomplished or what you did. Like letting outside people's opinion be your opinion. You have to let that shame go and say that, nah, I don't care. No, it's not going to work. I'm going to live my life the way I want to live my life. And if you don't like it, you can kick rocks. You have to get into that mindset. And then you have to learn how to love. There's a 90-degree turn here that takes you out of the physical realm of understanding and you get into love. Not being fearful of love because you lost love. I'm going to tell you, when I lost the love of my grandmother, I didn't think I could love anybody after that. Anybody. Nobody. I didn't think that I could love my wife. I didn't think I could love my brother, my sister, my mom. Nobody. Like, because the amount of pain I felt from losing my grandmother. I felt a lot of pain when I lost my grandfather. But the pain of losing my grandmother, that was my girl right there. That was my lady. Right? You know, there was no wrong she could ever commit. There was nothing she could, if she needed something, she gonna get it. Even if she didn't need it, she was gonna get it. People in my family don't even know that I was sending a portion of my check when I was in the Marine Corps back to my grandmother. They ain't know. It wasn't their business to know. But she took so much care of me that I felt that I needed to take care of her. But the thing about it is, it wasn't until my daughter was born, my oldest daughter, my first child, when she was born, that's when I began to love again. That's when I realized I can love again. That I couldn't live in the fear of losing love, but I had to realize that love is continuous. I don't not love my grandmother anymore. It took me a minute to really come to that understanding when I was about 25 years old. I don't not love my grandmother. I still love my grandmother. I still love my brother, my sister, my cousins, my whole big 80 some odd number of family here in Georgia. I love all them jokers, even the ones that get on my nerves. But it was taking care of my daughter when she was born premature, and their mom was still in the hospital. So I had to go take care of their mom, and I had to go take care of my daughter in 2 separate hospitals, and just taking care of them made me come back and fall back in love and allow myself to love again. So you have to be willing to release people, but still love people. Not get treated right by people, but still love people. You can't ever lose your love of life, of people, of existence. You can't ever lose it. And going through a lot of the things I went through in the military, I began to hate some people because of what they did to me while I was in the military. Some of the things they put in my mind. But I had to learn to not hate them, but to love them from afar. Very, very far. And then communication. You open up your throat chakra. You can't be afraid to speak your truth. You can't be afraid to say that I'm not Christian anymore, or I'm not Muslim, or I'm not Jew. I'm not any of those things. Regardless of what people are trying to say about you, when people call you crazy for doing ancestry worship, when people call you crazy for following the chakras, when people call you crazy, if you believe in, if you're talking about, hey, I know you reincarnate, and I'm getting tired, I'm almost at the end of my reincarnations, and they call you crazy, you can't worry about that. You just keep speaking your truth, because your truth is what means to you, and you can't tell lies to yourself. And that's what we do. We tell lies to ourselves about who we are, because we're worried about what other people say. We're concerned about what other people say or what they may think about us. Tell the truth of who you are to yourself, and be that. Be that truth. And then we have to realize that we're not disconnected from one another, that nothing is disconnected. Everything works symbiotically. The tree and the bumblebee, the flower and the bumblebee work together to pollinate and create. They feed each other. They feed off of each other. There's a connection there. Like Mufasa said, it's the circle of life. The lion eats the antelope. The antelope eats the grass. The lion dies and becomes the grass. It's the circle of life. But all existence, you are not separated from the planet Neptune. You all exist symbiotically. Astrology is not crazy. It's just people understanding how different energies from different planets that are grouped together, or stars that are grouped together, how they affect the energy on the earth and how they affect the energy that you are. Does it affect it in the same way some of these people post stuff? Who's to say? I'm going to say most of them don't know what they're talking about. But if you think deeply, and you have to think deeply, but more importantly, you have to feel deeply. You have to feel deeply. Everyone is an empath to a certain degree. But developing your empathic abilities is what will help you. Don't push away fear. Don't push away an energy that you feel. That gut energy that you feel in your power chakra, that solar plex chakra, it's trying to connect with your third eye to let you know this is what's happening. So it all works together. You can't work on one chakra and be done. You have to still connect each chakra together so that your crown will open and you can release these earthly attachments. You can release what's here. You can come to a knowledge of true self. And when you do that, then you escape the matrix of the material world. And I will say this, I'd rather be in the matrix of the spiritual world than be in the matrix of the physical world. Because this physical world sucks. This physical world is filled with so much pain and so many issues and problems. And there may be some pain, issues, problems in the spiritual realm, but at least I won't be dealing with it being dumbed down by the blue pill of thinking that this is it, and that after this there's just a heaven or there's just a hell. No, there are a multiverse, to use a Marvel thing now, a multiverse of different existences within this universe, within the construct of the mind of the all. And that's, I may have skipped that part earlier because I did have a customer and it threw me off. The difference between the God that everybody else talks about, that they have, whether it's Jehovah, Yahweh, El, Enki, Enlil, Baal, Allah, no matter, all of them, they all got humanistic personalities. But the mind of the creator, the mind of the universe, the infinite creative mind of you, doesn't give a shit about good or bad, doesn't Pinocchio your life. It just creates, and things are just what they are. The natural laws of the universe just exist. Everything is mental. The all is mental. You are actually mental. You are created in the same fashion as the all, just inside of the all. You can never get outside of the all, because then you will be greater than the all. Just as no invention can be greater than the inventor. So you are inside the matrix of the all, but in that matrix, it just performs on natural laws, mentalism, correspondent, as above, so below. Maybe you do deal with the same shit in the next emanation that you deal with here, just on a spiritual realm. Maybe you can utilize energies from the spirit realm to here on the matter plane. every religion has some form of Jacob's ladder where spirits ascended and descended. There are different levels of heaven and hell, and there's ladders and symbolisms of that nature. There's always something in each one that tells you correspondence as above, so below. There will always be the law of polarity where everything exists on a pole. And on that pole, there are millions of degrees upon that pole. The law of vibration is how do you vibrate? Your vibration determines where you are on that pole. Low vibration, high vibration. And you swing, the law of rhythm. You will swing from a high point to a low point. If this is as far as you'll settle to the low, this is as far as you can swing to the right. So your swings, which most people swings are right like this, but if you swing to the far right, you're good. But law of polarization says as soon as you see yourself swinging to the left, you then begin to re-instruct your vibration to stay to the right, to go back as far as you went to the right. Right? So even though, like I said, old girl, she went too far to the left financially, but then she swung way back to the right and a little further than she was before. So you got to make sure your vibrational swings don't come all the way to the left, but continue to go to the right. There are areas of my life I've allowed myself to lower that vibration, lower that vibration, lower that vibration. But now I realize I got to swing back hard to the right. And once I get back hard to the right, I will polarize the hell out of that shit and stay to the right. And will not swing back to the left. And that is based on the law of cause and effect. For every cause, there is an effect. For every effect, there is a cause. There's no such thing as luck, chance, or miracle. There's causality. You create that though. It is up to you to create and be the causal factor. Now, true, there are certain things that happen and it's out of your control, but but you are experiencing the effect. But even while you're experiencing the effect of it, you can still determine how it affects you. You don't have to allow it to affect you in a way where you just go where that normal swing goes, that you can stop it and then move back far to the right. You can stop it. You can change your standards so that you are at a higher level, or you're dealing with people that are at a higher level. You're living a life that is at a higher level. Your consciousness is at a higher level. And of course, the law of gender. Without the law of gender, none of this shit none of it will matter. You have to have a balance of your masculine and feminine energy. That male and female only exist on the physical plane as a separate entity. But it is the joining of masculine and feminine. You see, even when you look at things like the Bible, when Adam was in the garden by himself, Adam meaning man, he was cool. Hermaphrodite. He was cool. When he separated the masculine and feminine, all of a sudden, problems, because now he's not functioning properly at the balanced level. In the secret writings of Adam, the secret book of Adam, or the apocalypse of Adam, it's one of those damn books. Adam says that the demiurge, male and female were balanced inside of man, but then the demiurge actually split Adam into Adam and Eve, which created two factions that pretty much warred against each other and allowed evil to come into the world. Don't know about that allowing evil part to come into the world, but the demiurge is supposedly had separate Adam. I think he was telling Seth or Abel, one of his children, he was telling that shit to. But those kinds of stories are there, telling you that you have to have a balance of masculine and feminine. When these books said the Elohim, that means gods and goddesses, masculine and feminine. Let us create man, us Elohim. Let Elohim create man in his own image. It's masculine and feminine. God's creating, because without masculine and feminine, you cannot create anything, and you have to be in balance. This world is out of whack because we're out of balance, and you got people out there saying, "Oh, we need to go back to a matriarchal society. Oh, this is fucked up. We're a patriarchal society." No, we need to go into a balance, a homogeneous society, where we are balanced in our masculine and feminine, and we come together in understanding that. So many men act like they don't have emotions, but you do. So many women would get mad at a man if he shows emotion and call him a punk. So many men are overly emotional and they're too damn feminine and need to know how to man up. And there are women on the same side of each one of those, where there are women who are not emotional, they're cold. There are women who are overly masculine. There are women who are overly feminine. we have it on both sides. No one side is greater than the other. It is all in a balance. So don't fall prey to this movie, this series of movies, and thinking that you can never get outside of the matrix, because that's what it's telling you, that you can never escape the matrix. That even when you think you're free, you're still in the matrix. But here in our reality, you have to decide what level of being in the matrix you want to be in. Do you want to keep coming back and being reincarnated or cloned, as they're going to show you in this movie, as I believe they're going to show you in this movie? Or are you going to truly escape the physical realm? That's where I'm going. And I would love for you to join me. So thank you guys. Appreciate you for taking this time to watch this video with me. I'm going to do more static videos again where it's not a live, but we'll continue to do lives as well. Join us tonight, hopefully. But, well, actually, I hope not. I hope that I got too many damn customers in here and I can't do the video unless it's after 10 o'clock. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable.